Okay, so very good morning to everyone. And before I begin talking about who am I and human factors in education, it's very important that I first ask you all something very important. This is something that we really need to think about and contemplate. Have you ever wondered why two children raised in the same home, studying in the same classroom, taught by the same teacher, given the same instructions, still turn out completely different? One thrives, one silently disconnects, one participates confidently, and the other one struggles to express even basic emotions. Doesn't this happen a lot of times? I think all the time that we notice that children are not behaving the way we expect them to behave. One is behaving in north direction, and the other one is going towards the south direction. So it keeps happening. Why? That question stayed with me for years, and perhaps that question eventually brought aviation human factors. Today, you are in conversation with a professional who has wholeheartedly served across two different industries, aviation and education, two seemingly different worlds. And when I say wholeheartedly, well, I mean it quite literally, because my role shifted from one side of the table to the other side, but I continued delving deep into the understanding of human behavior all throughout my journey, all 25 years that I've spent in the industry. I have been a part of a multicultural environment all my life, and with immense amount of interaction with hundreds of thousands of people in all these years, I have learned a lot about human behavior through books, observation, through experimentation, and of course through a lot of experience that I have personally gone through. We are going to talk about something that belongs to all of us. We are humans, and we are a part of the world where there are a lot of humans. We all are aware of that, right? So we are going to talk about something that belongs to us, and that is human factors. This study, the study of human factors has been human factors became essential because industries realized something very important. They realized that machines alone did not fail. The human failed when they were unable to have healthy conversation or interaction with machines. So, of course, we are dealing with a lot of machines in our daily lives. We are dealing with a lot of rules, norms, regulations, and a lot of other stuff all the time, isn't it? And when our interaction with all of these is not as healthy as we want, we start blaming the human. We say that, oh, you made a mistake, or I made a mistake, or, that keeps happening. There are communication failures, there's fatigue, poor workload issues, and all of these influence human performance. And then one day I began questioning if aviation human behavior is critical enough to save lives. When we are designing everything around the human, we want the machine to be designed in such a way that human is comfortable. That's what we are doing in aviation. We are also making sure that our rules and norms are making the human comfortable, and the human is able to adjust in the kind of environment that we are giving, because it's a very high stake industry. Why are schools not doing the same while shaping lives? Now, that's a big question, and that became the foundation of my work. And I'm sure this question is actually going to make you think a lot, because when we talk further about why things are not happening in schools the way they should, you would actually want to get into action and do a lot of things that are presently not being done in schools. So from cockpit to classroom, human first, system always is what we're going to talk about. So a little gist of what human factors is. Okay, it is used across many industries in today's time. It started with aviation. It was to prevent errors. So human beings should not be making any mistakes. That's the whole purpose of human factors. We want minimum mistakes to be made by humans when they're interacting with all that's around them. Humans, because what we are doing presently is that we're designing systems in a way that we are expecting children to adjust to those systems. So The purpose of human factors reaching schools is that it's high time we make children um, comfortable wherever they are. So 1/3 of the day that they're spending at school, they should be able to enjoy the environment that we have created for them. They should be comfortable. They should be very safe in whatever we have created for them, rather than pushing them to accept whatever we have designed. In the present or in the past, we have always had systems designed and we've expected children to get used to it. Okay, this is the system, this is a school, you're supposed to behave in a particular way, and children have to adjust to it. Now, children are as vulnerable as the aircrafts. They are as fragile as the aircrafts, I believe. And if we are so careful about the risk involved in making a machine fly, an aircraft fly, we should also be very, very careful about children and how fragile they are and how vulnerable they are. And that's a big thing that's missing. So we have to come up with something. We have to take the disciplines of human factors to schools so that we design systems in such a way that children are able to adjust and enjoy, they're comfortable, and at the same time are able to enjoy holistic development, which we all are aiming in today's time. So when we talk about progressive learning, there is a big gap which we have to cover up. And human factors is very promising in terms of making sure that that gap is covered up. Here I have this diagram which would help you understand that how human is at the center, and this is what human factors actually studies about. It is the science, beg your pardon, it is the science of understanding human behavior within the systems. So if you look at this diagram, you would actually understand that the human is actually dealing with other people. Apply it not just to schooling, apply it to any other field as well, and you would understand what I'm talking about. So initially, we had this in the field of aviation, where we knew that the human is interacting with people, processes, environment, emotions. There is a lot of communication that human has to deal with, a lot of workload, performance, and tools. So just give me a moment. Please continue. Thank you, Pravina. Okay, so we can see that a human is actually interacting with all that's around them. Take a moment. Think about, are you this human? Do you deal with environment? Do you deal with processes? A lot of tasks that you do in your daily job, right? There are a lot of policies that you have to follow, a lot of routines and workflows that you are a part of. Okay, a lot of people that you have to interact with all the time. We are not surviving in isolation. We are actually engaged with a lot of people in our daily lives. Of course, a lot of communication happens. There's workload, stress, fatigue. There are performance pressure on us all the time. There are tools and, of course, technology that we are dealing with in our daily lives. There's an environment. There could be a physical space, noise, lighting, or comfort. And, of course, a lot of emotions that we're dealing with all the Okay, so moving on, let us understand this through this particular video. I hope everybody can see the video. Is the video playing, Pravina? Turn.
The volume is not clear, Miss Astha. It's not playing.
Volume is not there.
Since it's not playing properly, I can see the image. Yes, now it started moving, the boy.
Oh, okay, let me try again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, that brings us to some thinking about how three children behaved in the same situation. We had given them the same setup, they had the same rules to follow. All of them had three individual bottles for themselves, but how they all behaved in the same situation is what actually makes us closer to the aim of bringing in human factors to schools. And not just to schools, actually, human factors is presently prevailing in aviation, healthcare, nuclear systems, defense, transport, and many other high stake industries. But somehow we forgot that education is also high stake. That was a big gap missing because schools are, they're not supposed to manufacture worksheets. They are supposed to shape identity, confidence of the student, emotional safety, and future human beings. And that's what we really, really need to work hard on. And presently, what's happening is that we are just worried about marks. We are worried about how a particular child is behaving at school and scolding him for that. Even if you have a quiet student, we are appreciating you're quiet without realizing that there could be a storm inside that student. When a child is trying to be naughty in the class, we scold the child without realizing that probably that child needs attention from us. If a child is not performing or is an underperformer, which we tag the child as, we fail to understand why the child is unable to perform because we strongly believe in the concept of IQ, but we don't focus on emotional intelligence and emotional safety of the child. And all these gaps is what we are trying to cover up through human factors. So, when in the present scenario we don't have human factors, there is a lot of pressure on the students. There's miscommunication, overload, disengagement, and stress. However, if we bring in the concept of human factors in schools, there's going to be high level of clarity, communication, balance, engagement, and well-being. And you must be wondering that how is it possible? It sounds too idealistic, and how can we bring human factors to schools? Well, the good news is that it has already begun. We already have human factors being taken to schools. The dry runs have been done, the wet runs have been done, and I'm glad that I've been able to not just study this, not just research it, I have actually not just experimented it, but implemented it in certain schools in India. It has also reached in Europe, United Kingdom. We have taken it. We have got empirical validation of this concept being taken to schools. Human factors associations all around the world have actually peer reviewed how it can be worked upon. And I'm glad to share that it is being taken up seriously. And in the coming times, you might find human factors training as a mandate in the schools, at least to start from the most challenging educational setup in a country, and that's India. We really, really want this to be implemented everywhere. So there's a lot of work, of course, but it's happening. When we talk about understanding what human factors is and how what mistakes we make when it comes to human factors, well, there are a lot of misinterpretations when in the classroom. So teachers fail to understand the behavior of a child, and we are just overemphasizing on the compliance of the rules that are being set by schools. Of course, this burns out the teacher because the teacher is handling too many things, and at the same time, she also has to deal with a lot of behaviors which she has been told that, okay, this particular behavior is to be considered good, this one has to be considered bad, without giving teacher enough skill set to actually understand the student. So our educators are doing a wonderful job when it comes to teaching the subject. They're doing a great job when it comes to handling the class. Many of them are actually able to nowadays engage the students in fun activities and do a lot of other things. However, what's missing is that human touch, that connect with the student, where you have just known the student as of now superficially. So to understand the student, you will have to develop that kind of emotional intelligence, which gives the student the approachability that he or she needs. Okay. So our children need that emotionally safe environment where they can approach the teacher, where they can talk to the teacher comfortably, where they are happy attending the school, and that 1/3 of the day that they are spending at school, they are comfortable with it. There are no attendance gaps. There are no self-harm issues. There are no, we don't pick up the newspaper to read about suicide cases. And all of this is what we need to take away. We've seen qualitative results happening at schools with the implementation of human factors. But quantitative, of course, in the coming times, you will notice that. So, how are we going to quantify it? By seeing that children are regularly attending school. Their grades that everybody has been worried about are actually improving. If a child has had no friends, you will see the quantitative result of a child having at least a few number of friends whom he or she is comfortable talking to. So these quantitative results are going to be observed by teachers. They are already being observed, and we are expecting more results to be recorded in the coming times. So all of that is what human factors has in store for you. And now, to make sure that it is correctly implemented, I have got a magical tool to discuss. STM, that is Student Teacher Meet. This is something that is very, very close to my heart. And STM is a framework that is I designed in the year 2024. I wrote a book on Student Teacher Meet. And of course, it took me about 6 years to actually frame the whole concept in the best possible way, with all the ifs and buts that it could be related to, that could be related to it, with all the doubts that people could have related to student teacher meets. And then one day I was finally able to finish the book, publish it, and it's, of course, an award winning book, which I'm truly humbled with the appreciation and acceptance that the book has got. And it's not just a book, it's actually a manual that schools, educators, policy makers, and people are reading it and are trying to take it to schools. STM is Student Teacher Meet. Of course, it is very different from our regular PTMs because here the child is having one-to-one interaction with their teacher across the table in a confined space, but in an open space. So the educator, the class teacher, gets to speak to her child or to his child for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to be a mandatory process. It's already in certain schools where they've implemented. And this is where the child is in connection with the teacher with certain set of questions which are of course standardized, keeping in mind the safety of the child, and it is a part of the school calendar. So STM would be conducted about 3 times in a year. It's a part of the school calendar. PTMs, the number of PTMs are going to reduce because the child is spending time with the teacher is spending time with her students in the class. Why she needs to talk again and again to the parents, sit with them, talk about the child, and they end up getting no results. Why? Because they're just gossiping about the child most of the times. And the poor child is getting traumatized with all that is being discussed in the PTM. Even if it's a student-led PTM, we want the child to be the hero, of whatever discussion is happening. And that's going to happen when the child gets enough space to speak to the educator separately, like the child gets enough space at home with the parents to speak separately. And that's the kind of tool or the framework that we are taking to schools. Now, why am I taking it to schools? Because when I'm making the teachers human factors enabled, when the teachers have the skill set to understand what human factors are, when they have empowered themselves with the skill of human factors, it's very important for them to also have tools which they can use to implement human factors. So now, when you're emotionally intelligent enough to speak to the child in front of you, you must also know that do I have a specific timeline when I can speak to the child? Yes, you have. Are there a set of questions that I can ask and make the child comfortable in having the conversation with me? Yes, you have. Okay. What is going to happen after STM? The teacher would like to know because, now that I've understood my student, what should I go ahead with? STM also lays down the entire process of how you can go about once the STM is completed, what actions the teachers have to take, how is the school going to take up all that has been discussed but there are going to be certain conversations which definitely need to be taken up very seriously. So there is also a task force designed for taking up those issues which are of great concern. So STM is it is a part of the ecosystem that we've created so that schools become emotionally safe. And this is a tool which teachers will have to understand once they become human factors enabled so that they can use the power of human factors in the right way. And I'm glad to share that it's not just the book, but there are numerous workshops that I and my team are conducting all over the country, and we're taking it wherever we can, even to international conferences. And STMs are actually being accepted with open arms, and a lot of schools have actually started implementing. Of course, there's a framework, a standard. It comes with an operating process which has to be followed by all schools because we just cannot use the term the way we want to. There is a structure that has to be followed so that it doesn't collapse, and it is giving excellent results. So, with STMs, I would also like to discuss something that I started as an initiative after STMs became a hit. So Project Awaaz is something that I've taken up as an initiative. It is a voluntary initiative, and it is designed to spread awareness about STMs and human factors in schools. So there are students, counselors, teachers, there are researchers, there are a lot of policymakers who are a part of it, schools who are a part of it, and we are all working with one common goal that we want every single student to get the voice that he deserves. And every student should be able to voice their opinion, their feelings, their beliefs. They should be able to share their concerns. They should be able to enjoy the right kind of connect with their educator, which has been missing all these years. So that's something that Project Awaaz focuses on. And it's an initiative which is a non-profit initiative. And of course, in the coming times when we are traveling here and there, we would require funds. However, of course, there are ways of working on that as well. Presently, we have teams of people who have volunteered to take it forward. There is a training process. There are designations given to people according to their skill set. And once they've understood how they have to go about STM workshops, how they have to spread awareness, how they have to take it forward after they've signed the ethics forms, they become a part of the team. And yes, they work very diligently to ensure that Project Awaaz reaches every possible school, because this is such a noble cause. Because these little minds who are so fragile, who want to fly but are very vulnerable, need to be taken care of because they are not just the future leaders, they are our present, and they are our responsibility. So we have to make sure that they are taken care of, because all these thousands of schools that we have in our country, and a lakhs of schools, I would say, if we are unable to give emotional safety to the student, I think we've failed as a school setup. So that's what the whole mission of Project Awaaz is. And if there are educators who wish to be a part of it, they can definitely get in touch with me and we can work on it. And I can tell you how we can go about it. So, well, from aviation systems, which is high stake operations that teach us human limits, I have taken the principles of these aviation principles have been taken to schools. So I'm taking human factors in the field of education, applying insights to create human-centric learning systems. And the aim of this entire process of taking human factors and applying STM as a framework, this entire ecosystem has been created so that we can have a global educational reform. We can revolutionize the way education system has been flourishing till date. Let me tell you what work has been done so far. There has been, of course, extensive research across aviation and education. Practical experimentation in real classroom settings has been done, and in fact, in real way, we have implemented it in certain schools. And empirical validation of the framework from researchers and people working in the field of human factors, psychology, and people in the field of education policy making have also empirically validated the concept What lies ahead is scaling human factors in education globally. And we've already begun that journey. The first step has been taken. It has been taken to global platforms. And I'm sure that in the coming times, starting from our country, a lot of countries are going to copy it. They are going to take it forward. And I'm sure that all of us are going to help education reach the next level that we're really looking forward to. And we also have to embed STM into school systems. So it's not just about few schools that we can be happy about. We have to take it to every possible school. We have to expand Project Awas as a collaborative movement, and I need as many hands as can be there to support this noble cause. So there is invitation to educators from my side, because this is, of course, not a solo journey. I started it as a single man army. So, but there's a lot of effort required from everyone. So I really look forward to all people coming from different spheres of life. If you believe in the concept of Project Avas, if you believe in bringing a change in the education system, please come along, become a part of this journey, because a lot of collective participation is required here. Please join the movement and let us implement this particular process in schools. We need to observe it even more, and we have to contribute in the best possible way with the individual talents that each one of you have. We have to build an education system that understands humans first, and that's the main motive of this entire journey. The future of education, of course, may depend less on content delivery. I'm sure everybody would agree to this, that it's not just about rote learning, it's not just about scoring 100 out of 100, it's about understanding human beings. So if, as an educator, you have understood the students in your class, I think you are the psyche of your students. If you make them sufficient enough to understand themselves, if you do emotional justice to them, you would be a successful educator, and that's the whole journey all about. So, and call it a manual. So if you're interested in reading Student Teacher Meet, you can visit my website, asthagill.com, and the book is available there. And you can get in touch with me. The email IDs are given here, so you can take a picture of it. And if you wish to be a part of Project Awas or any teacher training initiatives, and because Astha Setu is my teachers training academy, where it is responsible for high quality teachers training programs specifically focused on human factors and the NEP goals. So that's about it from my side. If there are any questions, I would love to answer. Thank you for being here, and thank you for participating.
Thank you, Ms. Astha. If you can stop sharing your screen, we can have a better view of
I'll
it.
do that.
Thank you. So, Arpita, any questions from your end, ma'am? Any questions from Arpita or fireflies.ai? I think it's the note taker. So, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself. And
yes, you may put in the chat box also. I'm okay with
you can.
that.
Yeah, you can post your questions in the chat box too. Okay, I'll go ahead with a couple of questions to you, Ms. Astha. So, how do you define emotional safety measurably in schools?
Measurably, or you're just talking about how quality or quantity?
You can
Or
explain
in
both.
any way? Okay.
Any, yeah.
So when we talk about emotional safety, well, we most of the times, we are not into preventive mode. We are we work on things when they fall apart, and that's something that we need to change. Emotional safety would be when we are able to have good attendance at school, when children come to class, attend the school, not by force, not by unwillingness, but they should be willingly attending the school. They should be comfortable enough to talk to their educators. They should be willing to participate in what's happening at school, and find enough space to interact with their educator whenever they want to. on any topic that they wish to. So that's emotional safety, where children are not engaged in any kind of self-harm activities because they have enough opportunities to connect with their educator. They can talk to them, they can share their doubts, their concerns, their apprehensions, their anxiety, fear. And that's when we would say that, oh, if my students are comfortable enough to come and talk to me about all that's happening in their lives, and if they've become smart enough to regulate themselves, their behavior, I think I've succeeded as an educator. And I'm giving that emotional space and emotional safety to my students. Because now it's not like a school with those rigid rules. Now it's not like that a human teacher has become fun element and children are interested in AI or robo teachers, which is actually a terrifying thought, but it's actually happening with open schools, with children doing homeschooling. All of that is happening, and it's actually a very dangerous thing coming in because human connect is now reducing day by day. So we have to get rid of all of this, and we have to bring back children to school. We have to create environment where children understand that my 1/3 of the day belongs to the school and I have to be there.
Right.
So that's the kind of emotional safety that we have to give it to them.
Absolutely right. So, what specific human factor principles transfer best from aviation to education?
Okay, there actually the whole concept of human factors is to be taken to schools. So there are a lot of tools that we use in human factors, and there's a lot of training that we take to aviation. Now, when we take it to aviation, when we train pilots, cabin crew, and other people as well, engineers, even dispatchers, schedulers, a lot of people go through human factors training in the field of aviation. Primarily, it was designed for pilots, and then it started for everyone across because it was important for everyone to understand that you're a human and you're interacting with the systems, the design around you. So we had to study how to make sure that everything that is designed around the human is done in a way that the human is comfortable and makes less mistakes. The humans were trained on CRM, that we call the crew resource management, which is again a part of human factors. And we train the pilots and cabin crew on CRM. So CRM is where we explain them that yes, you could be stressed out, there could be fatigue. You need to understand how power gradient can trouble you. You need to understand how communication gaps can make problems. How important it is to be situationally aware. So that's all that we take up when it comes to training in aviation. However, if we have to talk about what are we taking to the field of education, I would say that it's not just what we are teaching in CRM. We are taking a very broad, everything that is a part of human factors because we want humans to be understood. We need to design the schooling system around those fragile and vulnerable children that are attending the school. So that's what we are taking to schools. Besides this, we are taking how to communicate. So the right communication methods for teachers, how they need to be situationally aware. So there are tools teaching the teachers how they can be situationally aware and observe what's happening in the class and what's happening within a student. Okay, so that's also taken care of when we are imparting human factors teaching to the teachers. And of course, there are many other things, many other principles that we are taking forward. How they can connect with the student, how they can do a corrective for the student in a way that, it's like when it comes to punitive actions, how you have to handle a child rather than just jumping to a disciplinary action against a child. And, so all of that. Because if we do not give a holistic human factors training, uh, we won't be able to prepare or empower the educators that we want to.
Yes, ma'am.
You know.
So, ma'am, what training duration is required for teachers before conducting STMs?
Okay, so the STM workshop would not take more than about 1 or 2 days, depends on schools. Sometimes, so we usually do it in one day. It's not about just the workshop. I have to be a part of the implementation process because once you have the handbook, once you know how it has to be done, I also have to see how it is being implemented. So what usually happens is that if a school has actually begun the journey of STMs, I have to ensure that it's a part of their calendar the way it is supposed to be. What kind of, like, I have these pre-STM, STM, as well as post-STM forms. So we have to make sure that the educators are using those forms. They cannot have their own list of questions, because then you're crossing the boundary which is not supposed to be crossed. See, what happens is that it can be an unsafe thing if we are not following the way it has been designed. So we cannot give the liberty to do whatever you want to do with the term STM. You know, so STM has to be used, has to be conducted the way it is meant to be. When it comes to human factors, it can take about a week for the educators to understand what human factors are, with all the principles, with all the elements, because it is a very interactive training. So the educators are trained on what human factors are, how they have to use it. There's a lot of practical experience that they have to take. They have to do dry runs, wet runs, experiments, and there are a lot of activities and also an assessment for the educators. So all of that is done so that they can become a part of the human factors community, and they can eventually use STMs in the right way. For example, I'll give you a very basic example. There is a skill set that you need to do a particular task. For example, I called an electrician at home, and he knows the skill set. Okay, if he doesn't know, he won't be able to do the task, right? So it's important that he first gets trained on how he can become a good electrician, and then I give him tools to use those tools. Otherwise, there would be a short circuit, and that's what is happening at schools. If you are just randomly trying to connect with children, sometimes teachers end up cracking jokes which they're not supposed to. They cross their lines which they're not supposed to. They take a lot of things as fun, which of course is incorrect and makes children even more uncomfortable. So all of that has been happening, and human factors makes the teachers understand the sensitivity of children, the emotional sensitivity, and prepares them with a skill set with which they can correctly use STMs. If they do not have that skill set, they won't be able to perform STMs the way they are supposed to. So these are interconnected skill sets which need to be developed.
Ms. Astha, how do you manage STM scheduling in large schools, say 1,000 plus students?
It's not a tough thing. See,
Mm.
be it a small or a large school, we
Mm.
have certain guidelines which have been decided. And it's not just guidelines, they're standard operating procedures. And the schools have to follow them. So if you are saying that you are STM enabled, if your school is STM enabled, and you're saying that we conduct STMs, there are certain schools who tell me that we have mentor-mentee sessions. We have children can approach the counselor, and they can talk to whomsoever they want to very comfortably. We have created a very comfortable environment. And no, that's not enough. STM comes with very strict guidelines that have to be followed. So there is a list of do's and don'ts. There are forms, there are procedures which schools have to follow. Because if you're just randomly conducting STM, no, that's not going to serve the purpose. We want every child to be a part of STM. So you just can't pick random 10 children who want to talk to the teacher, and you just say, "Hum to karwate hain STM." No, that's not going to work. If you want STMs to work, you have to ensure every child is scheduled for an STM. Okay, so make sure that you schedule it in your calendar, that today Astha, today Praveena, today Arpita, and whosoever. So all of you are scheduled for a 15 minutes meeting with me. Okay, and I've given you a time slot like we give it to parents. And then there is going to be a form. You've already filled in a pre STM form. And now during the STM, I'm again talking to you, and I'm after the STM going to make certain notes for myself. Those notes are for my record purpose. They are not going to go anywhere. And that's again a very important rule of STM. If the school doesn't follow that, no, it's not going to work. So you have to make sure that you keep it discreet. And then if there is information that is of grave concern, the school has to make sure that it is taken up by the task force. So when the school is STM enabled, they are also going to have a task force which takes care of grave concerns, which takes care of issues that are important to be taken up seriously. For example, if a child is reporting of any bullying behavior or of any misconduct of a teacher that has been really traumatizing for him or her, we have to take it up seriously and we have to take the necessary action required. So all of this is not going to happen by just randomly saying that we believe in STM and we are going to apply it. You will have to do it in the right way. Otherwise, the results are not going to be enough and they could actually go wrong in certain ways.
Right.
So that has to be taken care of.
So we have some special needs children, right?
Yes.
In schools. What modifications are needed for special education settings, Ms. Astha?
Yes. So the class teacher has gets limited opportunity to converse with children who are special. Okay. So in such cases, we cannot have it with the class teacher. Even if we have it, we would have with the special educator, we would have the child, the special educator, and the class teacher all together in the STM. And as a part of the SOP, there is a rule wherein the child can have STM with the educator that he or she is comfortable with. For example, there is a girl child who's not comfortable with her male class teacher. So when the STM is scheduled, if she doesn't want to have STM with the male teacher, she can actually pick the educator, any other educator of her, who teaches her, whosoever, that, okay, I want to have STM with this particular teacher because I'm more comfortable. Maybe she wants to complain about her own class teacher. So that uh, privilege has been given in STM. It's not a privilege, I would say it's a right of the child to engage in STM with the educator that the child is comfortable with. In case of special children, it would be important that the special educator who is spending a lot of time with that particular child and the class teacher sit together and the STM is conducted. Most of the times what happens is that, of course, you cannot have the same form. We do not use the same form for the child. But we do ask the parents what kind of, if they would like to fill the form or if they would like to help us with it. However, with the parents' intervention, we are unable to get, we don't, we discourage that thing because if the parents are involved, we wouldn't get the results that we want. So whatever little conversation we can have with the special child, we would have it, but we would prefer having it amongst ourselves rather than involving the parents.
Right. Very well explained, ma'am. Last but not the least, because of the time constraint, I'm coming to the last question. What is your 5-year vision for
I
global
understand.
STM adoption? What is
I'm
your
sorry, I
five
can't hear you, Pravina. Could you be
what
louder?
is what is your 5-year vision for global STM adoption?
5-year vision. Okay. So, so STMs have been a part of me for about, I would say, about 8 years now. And, so STMs, when the book got released in 24, and when it got appreciation, got the Best Author Award for it, I realized that, okay, there are people who are going to, now that it is, the world knows what my approach is, and people are willing to be a part of it. I decided that this is a purpose that definitely need to take forward in many other ways. So it's not just the book; it's much bigger than what the research or the book is. So 5-year vision is that since I'm working day and night for this purpose, I would really want everybody, whosoever starts believing in it, to become a part of it wholeheartedly and take it to every possible school that you can. I would like to mention here that I've got appreciation from the Prime Minister's office and had a discussion on. We spoke quite at length from the office. I got a call to discuss what the STMs are and how we can take it forward. So, what I really look forward to is STM's becoming a mandate in every school, and it is being followed in a structured manner so that every child, uh, through Project Avaz and through other initiatives, is able to voice out their opinions and can enjoy the emotional safety, which is their right. So that's my vision.
Great. I just want to ask you one more question. You have mentioned about a call from the Prime Minister's office. What do you think, Ms. Astha? What policy changes are needed for mandatory STM adoptions?
A new policy has to come up, and so we are involved, like as a national mentor. I'm already engaged in providing trainings, and through Astha Setu also, which is my training academy for educators. We are already working on how to make teachers empowered with human factors. From the support that I need from the government, and I really, really need that, is because, if it comes from the policymakers, there is we can actually bring the change that we need. So we have to have the task force taking it to every school. There's a lot of noise about PTMs, all of the country. um, Most of the teams are working to ensure that PTMs are implemented in schools in the best possible way, because they want parents to get involved in schooling. However, STM is something that also has to come up as a policy, a mandatory procedure. It has to become a part of the school calendars. It has to come as a regulation, a norm that every CBSE, ICSE, or whatever board the school belongs to, even if it's a private school, they have to have STM as a part of their system. They have to ensure that they're giving him enough time to the children. The teachers are connecting with the students, and they have to have record of all the students who of it can't be who, but actually every child's record of attending the STMs and being a part of it. And we have to have measures wherein we are doing audits to ensure that the schools have implemented STMs, are following it religiously, and so all of that would require a new policy wherein we are giving emotional safety to children through STMs. So that new policy has to seriously come up, because our school counselors are doing their own job. They're doing a excellent job. It's very important to have a school counselor, but a school counselor cannot do what a class teacher can do, because she's not spending, or he's not spending time with every child all throughout the day. It's the class teacher, and it's the class teacher's responsibility to give that emotional safety and emotional connect to the children. So it has to come up as a new policy, STM policy, wherein teachers are first made human factors enabled, empowered, and they're using STM as a framework at school.
Wonderful, ma'am. Before I end the session, anything else you want to mention?
Thank you, Pravina. It has been wonderful being in conversation with you, and I'm sure that we can take it forward in a beautiful way, as we already are. And the more the merrier. I want people to join in, become a part of this mission, and take it ahead so that we can make our children emotionally safe. That's the main goal.
True, ma'am. Thank you. Definitely it will
Thank
happen.
you.
Thank you and have a
Thank
good.
you.
I will end
Have a
the
good
session.
day. Bye bye.